What's up, friends? Hey, it's Ryan, and this is another edition of the Studio Sherpas podcast. I'm glad that you're here with us today, and I'm glad, very, very happy and excited to introduce my friend Chrissie Wywrot, who I don't know if I say that. Are we a client of yours? Or are you I guess we're a client of yours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because we pay you money. Those things.
I love when you pay me money.
So Chrissie is the president and the CEO of eLink Consulting, and she's got more than 14 years experience in marketing and public relations. She works with her clients to generate maximum visibility on LinkedIn through profile optimization, marketing blueprints, and ongoing support. Chrissie, welcome to the show.
Why, thank you.
I like that what you're doing.
I do my
cool.
thing. Yeah. Whatever comes to me.
That's how we want this show to be, man. We just want people to just feel it, and if you feel like making some cool like hand gesture things or busting out a little dance, like you can just do it.
I'm gonna start playing music. We'll do all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't listened to the Joe Rogan show, but apparently it's like I think it's the most popular podcast in the entire world. I should listen and maybe take notes because maybe he's doing some. Maybe there's other things that can be done besides just spontaneous dance moves or hand things. I digress.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
many things.
Funny story. Chrissie and I, we went to a wedding, not together, but we were at the same wedding. I don't know, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, some kind of that long ago. Maybe it wasn't that long ago.
I believe it was 2004. It was 2014 or 15.
Okay. Yeah. So one of my favorites, being a huge Detroit Lions football fan, one of my favorite opportunities that we've had in the weddings that we filmed is we got to shoot Calvin Johnson's and Brittany's wedding. And Chrissie worked for the Detroit Lions back then. Actually, were you working for the Lions then?
No, I'd already left.
Yeah, so she worked for the Lions for a bunch and became friends with people there because she's a friendly person and super good at her job. So take us back to kind of the beginning, well, not the very beginning, an abbreviated version to where you're at today, where you started your own practice and just slaying all of the dragons.
Slaying. I used that term yesterday, so look at you using the same term that I did.
Well, I feel like it's just low-hanging fruit, one of those good That's a phrase that Chrissie actually hates. So
I hate that phrase.
Sorry.
I hate it a lot.
I had to.
Okay, so how did I get started with my own practice? I decided it was time to move on from the Lions and ended up.
And when you were, sorry to interrupt, but when you were with the Lions, you were doing PR or social media, like you built, they didn't really have a presence, right? You helped create that, and it was actually a really good thing because I remember.
Oh, good. I'm glad. So basically, when I started with the Lions, there wasn't such a thing as social media because I'm old. So it was instead called new media because it was new. And I was managing the website, which was really awesome at that time. So, and then a couple years in, social media became a thing. And it was funny because I found myself having to justify getting on Facebook to management, which is hilarious now, right? Because social media is everything.
Right.
So I got to cut my teeth on that, and I found out that I absolutely love social media, and it's very natural for me. I've always been a lover of human behavior, and the fact that I would get to engage with people like that, I'm a huge extrovert, so the fact that I would get to engage with people like that in real time online and really see like what sinks and swims and understanding people and what they would like, it was just really, really fun. And but it got to a point where there wasn't really any more growth that I could do there. And when you work in sports, there's about 7 million people behind you willing to do the job you're doing for peanuts. So it was time for me to move on after like 10 years there. So I left the Lions and actually spent a year partnering with Herman Moore, who I'm working with again. And after that, contract ended, tried to figure out what the heck I was going to do. And And as your audience would probably know, when you're an entrepreneur or you're trying to start your own business, sometimes you just sit there and go, what do I do well? And how will people pay me money for it?
Mhm.
And so it was this journey of recognizing, okay, I'm good at these things, but I learned that people don't necessarily respond very well to generalists.
Right.
And so after a couple years being a bit of a generalist, I noticed that many people were reaching out to me for LinkedIn services because LinkedIn was becoming this hot thing. And the great thing about LinkedIn for me is that it actually hinges on the content. It's not this trapped behind an algorithm platform where you can't get anywhere with good content. And so I went ahead and threw my business into LinkedIn as an entrepreneurial move. And I've been doing that for a couple years, and it's grown and done really well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we've kind of, Tell Studios, our video brand, we have throughout the years, the early years back when we were just doing weddings, we had a blog and we had amazing SEO. We just had a ton of traction with the articles that we would write and the videos that we would post on our website, on our blog, post them on Facebook, get tons of traffic, all that stuff. And then, early on, I was like, oh, I'll try LinkedIn. And it just didn't work for the wedding thing that we were trying to do. And then when we transitioned to doing more films for corporate brands, we said the same thing. Like, well, maybe we kind of go to LinkedIn. And if you look at our, I don't know what the history even, I'm still trying to figure out how to look at the history. It's embarrassing because I think I probably would post like twice a year on LinkedIn. And I'm like, this crap doesn't work. Let's move back to Facebook, where at least people comment, or we're not getting inundated with like random people we don't have any idea who they are. They're just trying to get us to hire them to do whatever those things are. So in my mind, and I think, well, maybe not so much anymore, but in most people's mind, I think LinkedIn at least used to be the worst. Right. So what changed from when it was the worst to today, when maybe it's not so much the worst anymore?
Okay, remind me when we're done talking about this that I just came up with the best creative nerd analogy. Just remind me that.
Okay.
So what happened basically is Microsoft bought LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And once that happened, there was a shift. And so if you remember back in the day, LinkedIn was all about huddling with the people you already knew. And it was almost like we're trying to create an intranet, which seemed kind of dumb.
Yep.
The positive for working with the Lions was everybody wanted to connect with me, and I had an account. And so I just kept accepting people.
Yeah.
So I had a decent foundation when I started my business, but so basically, LinkedIn bought it, and then it turned into a networking tool. Go figure. That makes sense. Instead of just, I'm only talking to people I know. And if you remember, if you tried to connect with someone they were hilarious, and they would tease you because they would give you an option of, I don't know Ryan. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know Ryan, but I want to connect with him, so I'll select that. And they're like, you cannot connect with Ryan if you don't know him. And they would yell at you. It was like, why do you even put that as an option?
Right.
So, so then once that happened, it really started to become this content generation platform. And now it's all about engagement and conversation. And one of the best kind of debates going on is you've got like the old school people who were there in the intranet days who think you should talk about nothing but business. You're not allowed to be funny. You're not allowed to have a personality. It's not okay. And then you've got people who are just having a lot of fun with it, which I enjoy doing. I post a lot of GIFs. I have a good GIF game, even though it's technically GIF, but I can't do that. I call it a GIF because I'm a rebel.
Yep.
And I like to post fun stuff. Like, I've got some fun stories about content I've posted too, if you want to hear any.
You do. Yeah, and that's one of the things that you have been teaching us. So we've contracted Chrissie to really work on our business profile, our personal profiles, and help us build a strategy for LinkedIn, because 2020, baby, we're going all in. I reached out to LinkedIn really to get permission or get access to do like live broadcasts. And I said, listen, we've used the other platforms. We're going all in with LinkedIn this year. So help us out, give me access. They've since still not given me access.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
So what Chrissie has kind of walked us through is like, hey, or at least what I've understood is, for our brand, Tell Studios being that brand, Studio Sherpas at some level for my video peeps. But then my personal brand, my personal brand is like, I'm a goofball. I'm somewhat smart in that I've created a couple of businesses that generate revenue and I employ people. So I've done some things wrong. Right. I've done a lot of things wrong. I've done some things right. But I just like to be myself. And so I feel like I used to not be able to be that on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, sure, just be, whatever. But now we're seeing that, and for my businesses, if I can let those businesses be real, authentic, like humanized versions of what they really are, because they are an extension of me, because I started them. I've kind of created the culture. The people that I hire, they emulate that culture. And so these brands they're like people centric. They we're people that you kind of want to hang out with, right? At least I think that we are. We're fun. We care about people. We like to have a good time. We like to work super hard and make great stuff. So I think my biggest takeaway through the time that we've spent with you is that, hey, you can make posts like that are silly, that are, you're an extension of who you are, and that's okay. And so in my mind, that's like, oh, well, cool. And if people aren't going to get mad at me, because I think exactly what you said, they used to just say like, no, LinkedIn is not a place for that. So I think it sounds like there's a lot more freedom on LinkedIn today to be who you and your brand really are.
Yeah. I mean, some people might still get mad at you.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling up something right now because I just posted 2 posts over the past week that quoted this article that was just like venomous toward people that want to be fun.
Jeez.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
So this is a direct quote from this article. Desperate posts may also be contributing to further decrease in views and engagement of your LinkedIn status updates, which begs the question, how do I post on LinkedIn in a way that helps my ideal clients to notice and engage with my content without looking desperate or foolish? And another one. Hold on, it's coming. Mindless posts, silly memes, and attention-seeking behaviors have become all too common on the professional social network. LinkedIn is now flooded with images of holidays, cocktails on the beach, dogs chasing their tails, food pics, and all of these posts that could be classified in a business context as too much information. None of these are appropriate for LinkedIn. Think of LinkedIn as an extension of your workplace. It's a professional environment where people do business. So I posted about this with a fun GIF from Seinfeld, and basically telling people to lighten up. It ended up with 130 comments on it.
Oh my gosh.
And more than 12,000 views. And basically everybody agreeing with me, which is hilarious that nobody from the other side came in to yell, which I was actually a little bit surprised. But there's this idea from this group of people that we have to be all buttoned up and tight on LinkedIn. And the funny part is that the other stuff's working for people. I mean, I get business from being myself. And the other side of it is that, do you really go to work, especially you, Ryan? I mean, you're a great representation of this. Do you go to work and be buttoned up and say nothing fun and never talk about anything that's going to make you laugh? That's ridiculous. What a horrible place to work.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, every work culture or every workplace has a different culture. And when I think about like the networking events and stuff that I want to go to, it's never the ones where it's all buttoned up. Like that to me is like super lame. Those aren't my people. I really don't want those people to hire us, because if there is a sense of like, hey, you guys can't be yourselves. And I mean, I get to an extent, like, I can't do dad jokes all day long. And that's, at some point that's not acceptable, at least, according to my wife and others. So I understand, but at the same time, it's kind of like, it's a social platform. So I think, number one, if the people are posting things that you don't like vibe with, like stop following it. Like don't connect with them. Or
and what you said though actually was a point made in the comments of that post that I just read the open to, is you wouldn't want to work with those people anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is if you're your authentic self, you're going to attract
Right.
people who enjoy what you're doing. And then those are the people you want to work with. I don't want to work with someone who's going to get offended because I posted a non-business post. I can
Yep.
guarantee you we will not work well together. So
Yeah. And the
I've
sooner,
accomplished my mission.
exactly. And that's what we tell our students inside of Studio Sherpas is like, the faster you get to know, the quicker those people can move on, the quicker you can move on. So if you don't have an about us, like a culture film of you and your people and what you guys are all about, the next best thing is like, what does your social media say about you? And if that's not drawing the people, then great. Like, it's, if you're distracting or not distracting, if you're what deterring potential people because of your culture and what you're about, then perfect. You don't waste your time. If you're trying to get business, don't waste your time with those people that aren't gonna care about you and think you're crazy, because that's a big waste of time.
Exactly. And especially when you're early in business, we've all had that kind of, I'm willing to take anyone who's going to give me
Right.
money
Yep.
thing. And so often it's those projects that the people are too high maintenance. They question everything you do. They don't trust your instinct, or they don't trust your own expertise. And it ends up being a nightmare anyway. And you kind of, I've had people that I've lost money on it to get them to go away. And, so it is important to make sure that you are working with people that you jive with, and say no if you get that red flag, because more than likely it's going to end up being a nightmare situation anyway. We've all experienced those.
Yes. What was the creative nerd analogy that you?
Oh, this was so good. So I've never thought of this before, and then I considered it, and your people might understand, because I bet a lot of your people use the Adobe suite.
Yes.
So if anyone is familiar with both Photoshop and Illustrator, okay, working with different social media platforms is a lot like working with Photoshop and Illustrator. All the tools look the same, but they function very differently. And so you need to learn the tools as they operate within their program to make sure that you can make that program successful for you. And that's what happens on social a lot, is people take the ideas and methods on one platform and then try to apply them to another. But people aren't on platforms for the same reasons.
Right.
And what's interesting is even your target audience could be on a different platform, but if they're not in that box of purchasing or wanting to work, like, that's not why they're on that platform, it won't even matter if you reach them.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand how each platform works, what people are looking for on it, and the best way to generate content and engagement, depending on where you are.
Yeah, that's great. Different tools for different things for different whatever. Yeah, good analogy. I like it. So let's give the people what they want here. I think people are probably still a little bit skeptical, and this is, I think something that LinkedIn is working on. They've got a lot of work to kind of undo, so they can say, here's what we're all about. This is how we want to help you in your business. LinkedIn strategy, where do people start? Like, what are some things that they can start doing inside of LinkedIn in order to, I think some like results of spending time inside of LinkedIn would be, number one, get clients, right? If you can find people that want to hire you, that would be a huge win. Number two, network, be helpful, expand your network, because at some point maybe you'll be at an event, or there's an opportunity that somebody maybe that isn't on LinkedIn but that knows somebody that you're connected to on LinkedIn knows somebody else that you can help. That would be a great use of that tool as well. And then I don't have a third one, but usually there's three good things to say.
Up so nicely.
So kick us off here. Give us some do's and don'ts, or however you want to lead us.
Well, the first thing to do, have you ever seen the YouTube video of
Charlie
the
bit my finger
in-person conference call?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
good.
It's so good. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it and laugh your butt off.
Yeah, we'll put a link to it.
Especially if you've ever worked in corporate or anything like that. It's so true. It's just hysterical. So you need to think about taking like a networking meeting and kind of do the opposite. So with that in-person conference call, you're taking a conference call and then you're showing what it would be like in real life. But with LinkedIn, you do the flip. So you take a networking event and then you put it online. And you need to engage online the same way that you would at a networking event. So we're not going to go walk up to somebody and be like, "Hi, Brian, are you looking for LinkedIn services? Because I have them. And I'm going to give you my 5-minute speech about what I can do for you on LinkedIn. And these are my services." No, that would not work. Right?
Right.
So we don't want to do that on LinkedIn. And what's been happening is that people are becoming more and more sensitive to that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
And they're rejecting it. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no place for a direct pitch. I just want to make sure I put that out there. Because, for example, let's say I was at a networking meeting and I saw someone who had an amazing presence or an amazing business and an amazing public persona already. And I knew their business. I knew they had some B2B, and they were not on LinkedIn yet. I would not hesitate to walk up to that person in person and say, "Oh my gosh, you have such an amazing brand. You need to be on LinkedIn, and I really hope that you'll talk to me about it." So that doesn't mean that there's no place for it. But if you wouldn't do it face to face, don't do it online, because you're going to get the same effect. The number of people I have that want to pitch me website services is so annoying.
Yeah.
Like, stop pitching me website services. I don't need a website. I've got one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. I like it. So that's number one, is we want to make sure that we're acting human. Okay. The other thing is relationships. It's so important to build relationships on LinkedIn. So that's the idea of kind of the networking event online. The really cool thing with video, though, is there is such an opportunity right now to just entertain, inform, and find an audience. There's people who are doing it really well on LinkedIn right now, where they're not necessarily only talking about whatever it is that they do for a living. They're talking about fun things. I mean, put office humor in there or throw in inspirational stuff. There's so much that we can do with video, and there's there's an option to really craft who you are and build a following on LinkedIn. And that's the great opportunity, because you're not on Facebook, so you're not stuck behind, you're going to have to put ad spend in it for people to see it. Mm-hmm. On LinkedIn, you can have very few followers, but if your content is good, people are going to engage with it and share it, and it has the potential to get a lot of reach.
And today, like it's kind of like the wild, wild west, right? Like the algorithm is maybe not as harsh or as hard as like on Facebook, where, it used to be amazing for businesses. And today it's like, you got to pay to play.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is, and the thing that I think some people lose sight of, is we're not entitled to anything. We're on someone else's land. We're on someone else's platform. So it's people will act like this algorithm changed and you're ruining my business. Well, that's reality of what you're dealing with. You're on someone else's paid business. Like, they're making money off this. This isn't like charity. They're not just giving you somewhere to go. They have to make money too. So one of my primary pieces of advice is know what the platform wants and give it to them. So if they're shifting, and that's the thing, follow the business. If LinkedIn is saying, we're really putting in a lot of money to expand our video tools, well, then they're probably wanting more video on LinkedIn. They added this live video feature. So follow what they're doing. And they made a lot of money in the first quarter. They had like a 24% increase in revenue. So they're doing well. So just go with it, go with what it is that they're looking to improve upon and promote.
So we know things that you shouldn't do, like don't try to ask somebody to marry you until you've like gotten to know them and like, kind of court them and try to add value into their business. So don't do that. Like what are some other things that you've seen or heard where you're just like, oh my gosh, like don't fall victim to that. Don't do that.
Don't post like you're writing marketing copy. So I've seen people that, and usually those are the people who don't get it. I've tried to give advice. I've had discovery calls with people, and I try to explain to them what they can do differently, and they argue with me, which is one of those red flags. So it's like, okay, cool, we're done.
Yeah.
But there's people who think that you're supposed to write posts as though you're doing an ad, like you're supposed to have a call to action at the end. And that's not how LinkedIn works. The way LinkedIn works is you want to create intrigue and relationships, and then people will start to see what you do. That's why your headline is so important. And they'll be intrigued and want to know more about you. And then once that happens, they'll either refer you or their interest will be piqued to work with you themselves. Mm-hmm. Typically, though, the people who engage with your content don't buy from you. That's LinkedIn, like official, unofficial stat.
Yeah, that's, did you guys hear that? Say that one more time, Chrissie.
The people who engage with your content are typically not the people who buy from you. Typically, the people who buy from you are lurkers. Mm-hmm. They watch and they do nothing. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they will reach out and say they want to work with you. And you're like, oh, I don't know this person, never heard of this person. And they say something along the lines of, I've been following you for 5 months.
Like, oh, creepy.
And you've never seen them. And so that's what tends to happen. But the people who are engaging are amplifying your content and putting it in front of more eyeballs and those people who are lurking. So you need to play to the people who engage with you while also being informative. But don't assume that just because you didn't get a lot of likes or you didn't get a lot of comments, that people aren't seeing what it is that you're doing. And I've had people I've gone to networking events the day I posted something that I thought was iffy because no one really engaged with it. And someone will walk up to me in person and say, oh my gosh, I saw your post today. It was great.
Yeah.
They did nothing around it. They didn't like it. They didn't comment on it. They did nothing, but they watched it and liked it.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that lends itself to that idea of staying top of mind and, having a valuable newsletter or something that you're sending to your list. That's a great thing. Reaching out to, past clients and just saying, hey, like, how's it going? Is there anything I can help you with? Like, that's a great way to stay on top of mind. LinkedIn for business is a great place for you to be able to stay on top of mind so that, somebody's going to be scrolling. They're like, oh, right. I forgot. Like we do have this, we talked about this video project this morning and I was just like in the zone, not even thinking. And I've got a video guy. I need to reach out to this guy. Mm-hmm. Super smart strategy for your business. And I think if nothing else, as you're adding value, as you're engaging on LinkedIn, that just happens naturally. And there's just going to be kind of those random, like, oh my gosh, today we were just talking about video. I'm so glad you posted. They're connected to 4 video people, but because you are posting on a somewhat regular basis, they see you. And so they reach out to you.
Yes. And I will give your early entrepreneurs a few pieces of advice. So number one, we want to make sure that we're adding people to our network, because if we're not adding people to our network, then it's not growing and we're not getting a bigger audience. The number one piece of advice I'll give you in terms of that is connect local.
Yeah.
Reach out to people who are in your area, because that makes your reach out relevant right from the start. So reach out to local people and add them to your network. Number 2, make sure that your profile is optimized, which basically means fill it out. Have a nice headshot with your face in it. You're all artistic. I'm sure that you can find some beautiful images. Find a good banner photo. Make sure that you have a business page that is linked to your LinkedIn profile so that when someone clicks on it, it goes to an informative page about your business. And that will also have a website link in it that they can go to learn more. If you have Vimeo or YouTube with your stuff in it, make sure that you have them linked underneath your business section on your profile or your about section. And the cool thing about the cool thing about LinkedIn, when you have those links in the profile, the only links that are really user-friendly are video links, because when you click on them, the video opens right there in the screen. When there's anything image or article, you have to click a second time to actually get to it. And it's just dumb. Like, it's really dumb. So the only links that actually do well are the video links, or the ones that are, user friendly.
Yeah.
Those are a couple of tips.
Yeah, that's great. Super helpful. What would you say the biggest difference between posting to your business page versus your personal page? Like, what kind of different things should people be posting?
If you are your business and your business is you,
Yeah.
just use your personal profile. If anything, when you're posting to your business page, just have it be, it can be more of the marketing stuff. You know, it can be more of, this is what we did. This is what we just wrapped up shooting, that kind of a thing. And then on your personal profile, you can be more of yourself. You can show more of your personality. And, you know, so that's kind of the balance there. But you're definitely going to be getting a lot more engagement on your personal profile as opposed to your company page.
Mm-hmm.
But company pages are definitely getting more traction than they used to, which is great. But you're still going to have a lot more bandwidth with your personal profile.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And then is there like a recommended how often somebody, you know, most of the people I think listen to the show are like have small studios, you know, they might be 2 or 3 people big, if that big. How often should people like that be posting on LinkedIn, whether it's their personal or their business page?
Well, I will say before I answer that question, with some social media platforms, you'll usually find the same kind of advice across the board. LinkedIn is so not like that. Where one person will say never do this, somebody else will say always do it. So it can really like hurt your brain to try to figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing. My recommendation when it comes to following a LinkedIn expert, if you like the person, if they give you good vibes and you seem to, you know, you feel them, go with it. Because a lot of it is based on personality and likes and dislikes. So for example, me, I personally say, if you got something to say, post it. Now, granted, you don't want to be posting every 10 minutes because you're going to step on the reach of your previous post. But if you want to post twice a day, post twice a day. The difference with LinkedIn and other platforms is that LinkedIn posts have a really long shelf life. They can actually continue to generate engagement a week after you post them. So if something is really good, it will likely be found regardless of whether you post like 5 hours later, 2 hours later. So if you feel inspired, go for it. I think that when you post and you're excited about that post and you really have something to say, it really comes across and people will gravitate toward it or respond to it. As opposed to if you go, oh, I got to post to LinkedIn today. What am I going to say? You know, that doesn't come across well because you really, there wasn't any heart in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the one thing to know too, that I keep thinking to say that I haven't said yet, is that LinkedIn is actually a lot like Instagram in that it is a lifestyle marketing platform. People really want to see what you're doing and who you're doing it with. There's a lot of kind of FOMO going on with it. And so, you know, people like to see that you are out and about at different meetings or with different clients and things like that. And it gives you an opportunity to give other people shout outs and get into their networks a little bit. So what are you doing?
I'm going to take a photo right now to make people have or experience FOMO.
Okay. What am I going with? What look?
Just like happy, like so thrilled to be on this show. Ready? All right. I think we
Did
just
that capture it?
Let's see. Oh yeah. 2 thumbs up. You can see me too. That's hilarious.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
See, we're just practicing what we preach here.
Yeah. I'm like, well, now I don't know what I should do. That doesn't look as good though as yours.
You can just reshare my photo. You already took a photo, right?
I already told you that sharing is not the way to go on LinkedIn. You need to listen to my advice.
Sharing is caring. That's how I've always looked at it. Who is in your mind, like, do you have like 1 or 2 people on LinkedIn that you're just like, oh my gosh, you have to follow these people because they're not inspirational in what they're posting, but by seeing how they are using LinkedIn, these are people besides yourself. These are some other people like in your mind, like, oh, you got to follow fill in the blank.
Did you really think that I was going to say myself?
No, I'm telling people like, you know, besides Chrissie, who else should we follow?
Okay. Well, it felt like you were saying that I was just going to go for me right away. And that's not what I would be doing. Oh, laugh track. Nice. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to suggest a few people, one of which will be to my benefit. Okay.
Oh.
So first, and you're already familiar with her because I've already shared her stuff, is Shay Rowbottom. And does video. She's got like 100 and Lord knows how many followers. She's probably got almost 200,000 by now. I don't know.
Stuff's pretty funny.
But she is hilarious, but she is using LinkedIn in a way that other people haven't used it. She incorporates her own viewpoint. So she will post about mental health sometimes. She'll post about business, which is hilarious. She'll do skits about business and things like that. But then she also posts about LinkedIn best practices. But she does a ton of video, and you follow her because she's entertaining and because she says worthwhile things.
Yeah.
That's honestly anybody. That's why you should want to follow them. Either you're informative, you're inspiring, you're entertaining, you're funny. There needs to be a reason, regardless. Another person is Adam Karpiak. He's a recruiter in New York. Total snark, hilarious. He's got a great gift game. When he does post videos, they're not often, but they are hysterical. He does a lot of videos with like signs with words and things like that. It's just, he's amazing. Karpiak with a K. My now friend, though we've never met, Anthony Jones, who's the Duck Man. He works for Ducks Unlimited, and he basically posts all about how you don't need to post about business on LinkedIn. So his hashtag is LI appropriate, so LinkedIn appropriate, because he's often told that what he posts is not appropriate for LinkedIn. So he does some really good stuff. And then Kristen Olson-Cott is a good example too. She's actually local to me here, so we know each other. And she sells wipes for wipes.com. And she generates 99% of her sales through LinkedIn. You will never find her talking about wipes, ever. So she only talks about, she talks about, oh Lord, she talks about her daughter. She talks about animals. She talks about what happened at Dunkin' Donuts this morning. So she is all about her own personality, and she just puts it out there for everybody. And it's great. And then the one that will impact me or help me is follow Herman Moore, who's a former Detroit Lions wide receiver, and he has like 7 million businesses. And we work together, and we have revamped his LinkedIn presence. And so he's sharing a lot of his ideas and inspiration. He's got a lot of them. So he's a really fun one to follow as well. Mm-hmm. That's 5. That's Love 5. It. And me, 6.
That's good.
Follow
Obviously you.
And Ryan.
Yeah, obviously, man.
Now.
Jeez, Pete's. So we're winding down here, but I want to make sure that we cover this. One of the most important things when you're on LinkedIn is your profile. Your profile is the first thing that people can kind of see, like maybe they can't see your whole one-liner thing, but they can quickly know personality. What do they do? Are they fun? Are they, to the book? Like those are things in my mind that when I am looking at different profiles of people reaching out to try to friend me or posting or whatever, I'm just like real quick, like you've got, kind of like when you're watching something, you've got 3 seconds to capture somebody's attention or whatever it is. It's the same thing with a profile, right? So if it addresses a problem or whatever, and that's really where Chrissie shines. That's where she starts to shine, and that's how she will help businesses make that first connection or get people to make a what do you call that? Like a second look? No, second. What do you like when you walk by somebody and you double take?
Second look. When you check them out.
So you want people to check out your profile. You want them.
You're wearing yoga pants, and the guy checks you out.
I'm not wearing yoga pants, at least not today. So I would recommend reaching out to Chrissie if this is something that you're sort of thinking like, man, I do need my profile revamped. I need to start thinking about strategy. Chrissie, how can people reach out to you?
You can find me on LinkedIn first. So it's linkedin.com/in/Chrissie Wywrot, which is ChrissieWYW. Don't forget the second W, ROT. You got that?
I got it.
You're nodding like this is a lot.
No, this is good. We're going to link to this in the post as well. Okay. And I'll send an email and there will be a direct link as well. Okay. So connect with you on LinkedIn.
And then elinkconsulting.com, e-linkconsulting.com.
Okay. Those 2 places. And then the services that you offer are profile optimization. strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to say?
And ongoing maintenance, ongoing help
Ongoing
with
maintenance.
content generation. Content is my jam.
Love it. Cool. Anything else that I didn't get to ask you that you're like, oh my gosh, Ryan, I can't leave the show without saying? Now's your chance to say that thing. No?
Way to put me on the spot. Thanks a
Well,
lot. I don't know.
all you can say is like, no, Ryan, I said everything I wanted to say.
I mean, I
You're
said
such a good question
everything. I
asker.
I would have interrupted you if I had something else to say.
How dare you?
I would have interrupted you or said, hey, one more thing. This is incredibly important. We got to my analogy that I brilliantly came up with.
We did. That was brilliant. Awesome. Well, Chrissie, this was super fun to have you on the show. I'll see you tomorrow at the studio.
Yeah.
And
We'll take
that'll
some
be
selfies and stuff. Yeah.
rocking good time. Find Chrissie on LinkedIn, reach out to her to solve all of your LinkedIn problems, and the world will just be a better place because of it.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you soon, Chrissie. See ya.
Thank you for having me.